Now 2024 has been absolutely stacked with incredible releases one after another, with it gaining the title of the year, where everyone realized what they truly needed to do all this time and just drop gems to prove how their output hasn't weakened over the several year long wait. Unfortunately, we're not gonna talk about that today. Now, with all of the great albums we got this year, we also ended up getting a load of horse tranquilizer as well that ended up getting swept under the rug. These releases made for the most painful and, for some of these, the most unlistenable albums of the year. So without any further ado, let's scrape the bottom of the barrel as we look at the worst albums that unfortunately came out this year. For someone that's practically as irrelevant nowadays as playing Watch Dogs 2 is, I'm surprised she even made the list. But considering the other uninspired, bland and generic pop albums on this list, it's far from the most surprising placement here. There's nothing to really get here. The features don't do anything and my time feels wasted even though it's only 37 minutes long. Also, out of all records to feature on, why did Megan Thee Stallion land on this one?
Take me to the beach. You can have the mountains.
Exhibit B. Ever since Imagine Dragons started getting more painfully mainstream in terms of their overall sound since 2017's Evolve, which had a nearly 4-minute snooze fest on it, it seems like they lost the ability to make enjoyable albums. It's so watered down to where you can obviously tell that it's made to go mainstream. What's crazy is that when October rolled around, I forgot about this album by then. But then I gained the painful reminder when going back and putting the list together. Well, at least it's not Creed.
I know just how to fuck with his mind. Wrist, make him come alive.
Identity Crisis, the album. My biggest complaint is that this album doesn't know what it wants to be. In the attempts of rebranding her image and reinventing her sound, it just sounds like a cheap Charlie XCX imitator. There's more where that came from. Along with some pretty questionable features, including both of the City Girls members and Drake out of all people, they definitely dragged the record down even more given their presence. Despite the fact that this was made with the intent to be really popular, that fell through harder than Gibby did from the ceiling. It was the biggest flop of the pop genre. It's crazy how another album on the list ended up being its sales by about 12 units. That's how you know you're cooked. Coming off of the majorly hated debut album from the Atlanta native, he returns with an even more uninspired album that sounds like a bloat fest. And just like what the last album had going for it, the best song is with Ken Carson. Crazy how that ended up happening twice. But there is sonically nothing interesting going for this album. Watching a Chinese bootleg would be more interesting than sitting through this.
My body glitchy, flashing, honey, acid. Fucking a fan in the green room, I don't even need no man.
Yeah, I hate Twin too. I hate how he's not an authentic human rapper who bounces back from sounding like Carti to Rich Amiri throughout the tracklist. There is no originality to this. It's a fake aesthetic derived from a real aesthetic that the artist he's impersonating created. There are so many reasons why this doesn't work. First, it doesn't have the craft or uniqueness that makes Carti's albums stand out. It just sounds like it falls flat in every musical aspect. Second, there is no way that Filthy out of all people supports this AI act. For crying out loud, he actually worked with the artist he's impersonating. And third, the lyrics are basically the artist telling ChatGPT to write Carti-inspired lyrics. Let me say this again. There is nothing about this record that makes it seem any different than closed captions by Che. Corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures. They are the same picture. Now we really get into the most unlistenable albums of the year. The distortion on almost every song makes it sound like I'm getting skull fucked by the bass. And not in an enjoyable way too. Slimy is also unbearably loud with his shouting delivery, which makes me wanna go deaf. I was also just convinced that a debut album from the biracial Steven Universe would not sound good in the slightest, so I already knew this was hot ass. Remember when people saw this girl every week on Album of the Year? Yeah, I got sick of that eventually. So sick of it that it had to go on the list. It's the most unbearable 24 minutes anyone can ever endure. So unbearable in fact that it would have passed off as a toddler's My First Album. Yeah, we can tell. And we are sick of it now. Just please stop.
That bitch need her daddy, so she gon' send me her Eddie.
Has it ever occurred to you that you may need to blow your nose before entering a studio to record? Or is that just me? Bust out the Mucinex or something, cause my god, you sound like Doodle Bob, but if he took 3 too many perks in one sitting. Not to mention that he's a racist piece of shit that supports Nazi ideology. By that logic, Rose Mulet would love this rapper. If you know, you know. But I don't expect anything less from the color-swapped version of Ryuk. His lyrics are also infamously awful. I also think he has a foot fetish which is disgusting, so try your best to not look too much into that if you wanna enjoy a meal in peace.
If it did not come from us, shit not accurate. Girl, it's 4 o'clock.
Remember me describing these albums as horse tranquilizer at the literal start of the video? Well, speaking of horses, goodbye horses. It's the most basic derived trap album of the year, which sounds like Yeat's most half-assed album at best. The Chief Keef feature also sucks, so that's how you know where the quality of the record was going. It also got beat out by an actual Yeat album. Putting the comparisons to rest, because whoever wants to be compared to the Harvard bum? But yeah, this had no staying power in the Big 24.
And this is your daily reminder that Epstein didn't kill himself.
It tries to be offensive with every single track and interlude it pushes your way, but it just falls flat. There's even a song called Neurospicy which puts being on the spectrum and having autism to shame by making up claims of famous figures having autism not even having it, trying to make you feel regretful that you were born the way you were. Absolutely disgusting. Avoid this album if you can. Hey look, the well-known rapist and last person you should let near your kids is back. Cue the Not Like Us. Nah, but seriously, why is he even back? What does he have left to prove? That he still puts out shitty records in the Big 24? You should have left him in 2012. Why did he come crawling back for more? Just do something about him so that I don't have to hear of him ever again.
Used to call me bro, adios, we not dogs now, blowing up my
Unfortunately, this piece of shit is back as well. Alright, look, I'm glad that things worked out for Tom and Nova, but at the same time, both should unironically go fuck themselves with a comically large wooden spoon. This album reeks of political propaganda. You could tell a Trump supporter made it the moment you can smell the album cover.
Bitch, I live like this, I'm crazy and I fucking smell.
Out of spite for one girl that wasn't even of legal age was insane. If you think this is bad, he also made an entirely separate EP as well because one project wasn't enough. He had to vent his frustrations again because the term therapy is foreign to him. He literally needs to work out his anger issues though, cause what he allegedly did was horrible. And he's apparently a free man now. So you know what that means. Lock your doors. Close the blinds. Hide your kids. Hide your wife. This whole album is a gimmick of the New York drill rapper lifestyle which deals with real loss and real crimes. And Mabu just kinda toys with the idea of being a fake gangster even though the only ruler he ever toted was the one he did math with. Not to mention how bad the record sounds in terms of the overly processed sound and bad deliveries throughout. I even think there's a song where he says the N-word. The song's called Evil Empire. How he got away with that is beyond me. Poppy Day is also one of the most unironically bad songs of the year because he turns the original song, Bad Day, about how not everything in life goes the way you want it to a song where he talks about shooting and killing people. Wow, that's the best you could manage? No wonder the rest of the album is so shitty. He also uses his connections to his advantage like integral pieces that connect to the bigger picture of the biggest lie ever told. The only semi-decent song on here is Get Money, Get Hoes. Other than that, the rest of the album is dumpster.
She walk in the car, she got on a skirt, mama looking good.
Imagine the most generic and plain sounding trap album of all time. Well, you don't even have to imagine it. Big Boogie made it. You know what's more entertaining than this entire album? Trying to skydive off of Sweden's tallest mountain. No kidding. Not even Glorilla can save this absolute mess of an album. It's also overly sexual in a way that makes Kevin Gates actually sound not that bad. Speaking of which, did y'all actually remember him dropping an album this year? Cause that left my radar the moment it came out.
On her birthday, I ain't give her nothing but dick. I was thirsty, way before the commas came.
Even as a New York native, I don't get how this generic of an artist got so much fame in the first place. He makes the most cookie-cutter melodic tracks imaginable with painfully mainstream features that every other rapper, much like him, already has. It's an absolute chore to get through. One of the more forgettable albums of the year rather than a downright awful one, but we'll get there when we get there. It's crazy how nitrous oxide can make you put out something this retarded in the later years of your discography. There is literally not a single intelligent thing about this album. It just makes me feel stupid listening to it. Yet, no signs of intelligent life here. The lyrics are also pretty bad. She give me head like a comb. That and an entire song about how Uzi doesn't wanna fuck a girl because she, quote unquote, reeks. What the actual fuck, Uzi? Crazy how Larry June's worst album is more listenable than this.
I'd say the 1830s, but without all the races.
But like genuinely though, who the fuck cares? It's a very boring pop album. Moving on.
I don't make friends no more. I don't take Xans no more. I can't pretend.
This is about as deep as an I'm 14 and this is deep Reddit post. It's fake edgy music that doesn't hide the fact that it's painfully cliche in its exhibition. Also a JID feature for no reason. Crazy how this outsold Camilla's album by 12 units. To be fair, I despise it less than I do that album. With that being said, however, it still is not a good album. Woman's World just gives off the wrong message because a rapist is involved with the making of it. Like most of the lyrics on this album, the quality of it is also shit. Along with subpar beats and generic features, it's very obvious why this was a major flop. The person behind this album, Ronnie Radke, is a piece of shit who has manipulated women and has done hate crimes. So no wonder that translates into the music itself.
Black tears, they stain my broken cheeks. I'm like a dead black rose.
No, he's not. He's just a comedian that doesn't really know what's funny, so he just comes up with the worst jokes known to man. By that logic, he shouldn't even be a comedian.
My brother don't shit like butter. Ain't no bag of that with them colors. This gang shit like this in my mama.
Man, I don't know. Huncho just sounds so fucking weird on this album. I can't get past how his voice is mixed. Not to mention that every song sounds generic as hell and is a huge waste of time.
This morning I just got picked for double exams. They can't get prank on over, I'm going over, going.
If I have to hear this motherfucker moan one more time, then I swear to God, this is just a really boring trap album with nothing going for it. Literally nothing at all going for it. Features don't help it either.
I got a soul for sale, just sitting there collecting.
The name of this album is what you should have done up to now so that we don't have to endure 43 minutes of the worst rock music of all time. I mean seriously.
Another day, another man trying to mansplain something. I see his lips move a day.
You know, for an album like Timeless, it sounds stuck in time. Remember that do what she was doing in 2014? Apparently still doing it a decade later with no distinguishable differences at all. It sounds like it just blends into the rest of her shitty albums.
I'm misunderstood. Why can't they get that understood?
I was a firm believer that Lil Skies used to make enjoyable songs that people actually liked. Now he's making the driest rap songs of his career like there's no charisma left, and he stopped caring in 2019. If we just all collectively forget that these albums ever existed, the world would be a much better place. With that, I'm looking forward to the best albums list more than I was this one. So with that, see you when that comes out.